Hello and welcome to the Yeshiva League Pass Tip-Off Podcast. I'm Ari Wickus. We're joined by the one, the only Akiva Poppers, and our special player of the week guest this week, Alex August from Berman Yeshiva in Maryland. So we got a great show to get started with, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But first, without the sponsors who make this possible, none of this would be happening. So we'd like to start by talking about CoolKippahs.com. Cool Kippahs, where you know it. If you need something to get some new kippahs, new tzitzit, new svarim, anything you need, they have it. I don't actually know if they have svarim, but whatever. We'll go with that and see if they do or don't. But they have all the great stuff for swags, for bar mitzvahs, anything, weddings, anything that you're doing to celebrate or to commemorate. They are the place to go, and they have great customer service. And of course, their Player of the Week is brought to you by CoolKippahs.com. And don't forget about their tzitzit, cool fringes as well. And then we have Holy Schnitzel, where you get all of your good eats over at Holy Schnitzel. You can get anything you want from the shawarma, meat, salads, wraps, you name it, steaks. They have it all. And as long as they've been around, I don't think you could possibly have something. There's always something new to have in their menu. So check them out all across the country. Big, strong presence here in the tri-state area. So that's Holy Schnitzel for all your food intake. And speaking of intake, we're going to bring on our guest, our Player of the Week, which is brought to you by Cool Kippahs, as I mentioned. So we have a little different. This is not a Yeshiva League player. He is a good Yeshiva boy, that is true. But he is someone who made us, when Akiva and I were looking at who should we give Player of the Week to, we just said, you know what, it's kind of obvious, but he's not in the Yeshiva League, but he has competed against the Yeshiva League, and we'll get into that. So I'd like to welcome Alex August from Berman. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, it's our pleasure. So you're also the first underclassman to be on the show as well, as only a sophomore. So that's a little scary for the rest of the league that they're going to have to worry about you for 2 more years after this. But you've had a great start to your season. I know Berman is they're almost like a Yeshiva League team because you guys are in so many tournaments that you take part in, and you have a great program, a great system, and someone that we obviously know, what you guys are all about. So we're going to fire away with some questions for you. And, just like you handle everything at ease on the court, I'm sure you'll be great here as well. So the first question is, it probably had to be in your mind when we were going to start asking questions. Will they bring this up? The answer is, of course we will. 52 points, 3 quarters you played. This is like, kind of like Klay Thompson back in the day. 11 threes. I heard only 2 dribbles. No, I'm joking about the dribble part. But, tell us about that because, it's one thing to score 20, 25 points, which is an excellent game. You doubled that. You really, did something that, no one has really done in a long time. Tell us about the zone, when you started feeling like everything you were shooting was going in and, how also you were able to handle your coach telling you to sit down when you could have scored 60 or more. So take us through that game and how it was when you took part in it.
The first play of the game, it was kind of back and forth with the team because they were a good team. But once my point guard, he started feeding me the ball and all my shots went in. He did a great job with that. My teammates kept kicking it out whenever I was open. They fed me a lot, and it was all my shots were going through. I went 9 for 11 in the first half, and I felt like every time I shot.
Wait, hold on. 9 for 11 on threes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right.
9 for 11 on threes. My coaches trusted me to shoot whatever I wanted, so that was easy. I got a couple minutes rest in the second quarter, and then when it was after halftime, I just kept shooting, and they kept feeding me.
So it was as soon as you released, like it was literally like you could have done the Curry, turned around and started talking to the bench or so.
It felt that good, yeah.
Right. That's amazing. And the key testament is you said, like, obviously your teammates, they're feeding you, the coaches are giving you that green light. So tell us about that. You had 52 points, the 3-pointers, you said you hit 9 of them, 11 in all in the game. So then at the end of the third quarter, how does that feel for 15, 16 years old?
15,
to hear your coach tell you, okay, you've had enough, you're not going to play anymore. So what was that internally like? And then realizing, maybe in the bigger picture.
I was just overwhelmed with playing that well, so I didn't really think about it, but I was happy that since I built such a big lead for my team, that my teammates that don't usually get to play such big minutes got to play a whole quarter. So that was huge for them. Yeah, I was happy for them. I didn't really care to score anymore if we were winning by 40.
Right. Wow. That's the consummate teammate, and that's probably why they keep feeding you, because A, they know you're going to hit them, and B, you're someone that obviously works well with your teammates. So that's impressive. Pops, what do you got for
Alex,
for Big Alex?
Do you feel that you're treated differently because you're a 9th or 10th grader? Last year 9th grader, this year 10th grader, or do you feel like you're treated equally as a teammate in terms of, sometimes there might be, there's seniors on the team. Oh, this is my moment to take over, right? And as a 10th grader, you might be scared to assert yourself a little bit, or even your teammates might be scared to assert you, right? Even if you're having a hot game, they still might want to get theirs or whatnot. Is that something which you guys talk about? Is that a conversation which has been had? Does it feel natural?
I was on the team last year with a bunch of the seniors and juniors, so no, they're the best of running cats that you could have. They're super supportive. They're super happy for me whenever I do well, and they, of course, everyone wants to score, but they're really not like that. They don't mind sharing the ball, and yeah, they get their games that they get to score. I get mine, so it kind of balances off.
Is that something which we talk about in the locker room, or just generally at practices, that if one guy's hot, that keep feeding him?
Yeah, exactly. One thing that's unique about my team is that we could all starting five could shoot, so we run like a 5-out, and they, once we say one person's hitting, just keep feeding them. So that's happened a bunch of games with different guys, and yeah, we just keep it going.
Here's a question. Now, Berman, as I mentioned in the the preview, you're not a Yeshiva League team, but I would say in the past 3 to 4 years, you kind of have constantly been in tournaments in Sarachek and Satrin and Globerman. So you're obviously playing against a lot of Yeshiva League teams. So this is your second year in varsity, as a sophomore. So what's the Berman mentality when you come into these tournaments? Is it like, oh, we have to show them that we're just as good as them? Are we trying to, finish in the top 3 of the tournament? Are we trying to win the tournament? So what's that as an out-of-town school with a lot of talent, but obviously someone that we don't see day in and day out? What's the mentality when you come to these tournaments?
The mentality is, of course, to win, which we try to do our best of, but it's really to play with a little more energy because they're not used to us, like you just said. So like they might be used to like a Magen David or like a Hafter, but like they're not used to us. So we try to play with a little more energy, a little more toughness, like a little more aggressive, and yeah, we try to just bring it at them as hard as we can.
Right, and then also you in your league that you compete at home, you only play a certain amount of games against other Jewish day schools. So also the same token is what's the competition like in your regular season compared to these tournaments?
One thing about my league at home is that there's like 3 powerhouse schools, and then like there's like a drop off. But one thing about the Yeshiva League is like, even we played Hank, which is lower ranked on your rankings, but they were a tough team. Like one thing about the Yeshiva League is like from top to bottom, everyone brings it as much as they can, and that's something that like I wish my league had a little more. But it's different. It's fun to go out and see these teams.
I'm curious. You talked about powerhouses within your league, but I'm curious, just within the Jewish world, which team you feel is your biggest rival? Both, it could be in-state or not in-state. Which team, when you play them, do you feel like this is a must-win game? Everyone's going to talk about this afterwards.
There's definitely 2 particular teams. One's JDS, that's like 5 minutes away from our school, and then there's Best to Fill in Baltimore. They're also definitely one of those teams that we want to win.
Hey, when you go to a tournament, and JDS is in a bunch of tournaments, but Best to Fill is in a bunch. And you get matched up with them. Do you have a feeling of, oh, yay, we get to play them next time? Or is it, oh, why do we go all the way to New York or wherever to play them again?
No, when we play them, it's a great time. Like, definitely, we know each other. Like, we are friends with each other. So it's like kind of like we battle it out. Like, it's more fun. And it's in a different place. It's not at our house, it's not at their house. So when we match up, it's like kind of cool.
Yeah. And do you think at least when you're playing the New York schools, because you talked about what you try to bring to the table when you're playing in these out of town tournaments, show who you are as Berman. But system-wise, do you think there are elements that you provide which Yeshiva League teams might not see often, which could give you the upper hand?
Yeah, 100%. We like to run out. We're a fast team, and I feel like when I watch or play against Yeshiva League teams, they like to slow it down, run their offense, and so I think that's something that we really use to our advantage. We like to run out, score a lot, and yeah, what we like to do.
Well, scoring a lot is definitely something you do individually and as a team, because I actually did notice that in seeing you guys in Saturn, like you guys are scoring a lot of points. So I guess that's your mentality, the fast pace, up and down. You're going to score 60, 70. Hopefully you don't give up 80. You outscore the opponent, but you guys definitely have that mentality when you play. I wanted to ask you about, you just competed in Maccabi in Argentina. Basically it was like a traveling all-star team of mainly JV Yeshiva League players. And you guys, I think, dominated throughout the tournament. You won gold, and I believe you were named MVP in the gold medal game. If I'm wrong, you'll let me know. But tell us about that, like winning gold, representing your country, and what was the biggest memory or thing that you took out of that tournament that you'll remember forever?
First of all, I think that y'all Candelaire won MVP, but
okay, I wasn't positive. I was like, he just scored 52. I'm going to assume he did. Okay.
But one thing that I'll definitely take out is we met kids it was a bunch of kids like Ari Halper, Gavi Spodek, Jonah Blechner, Ayal, and Darren Solomon. And so that was like, we were a religious group, Shomer Shabbos, but there were a bunch of kids on our team that had no idea how to dive in. So it was definitely something that like we talked about with each other, and like it brought us closer. And yeah, it was a great experience. I'll definitely take it away also because I know I'll see y'all in the future. I know I'll see Ari and Gavi. So like, just like to know them is just great. Like they're great kids, great ball players, and yeah.
Well, how was that? Obviously, it's like an all-star game, right? You're all superstars. You're all phenomenal players. Every one of them you mentioned, and obviously there's people on the team who I didn't even know about. Obviously, so how does that translate to your game? Because on Berman you're the star. On DRS, Gaby's a star. Ari Halpert, SCR, and so forth and so on. So how does that, obviously just a quick little training camp, and how are you able to, kind of put your ego at the door and really you make it a team concept?
We all knew how each other basically played for some reason. Like the first practice, we just all clicked and our games just complemented each other. One player in particular, Ari Halper, his game just complemented mine amazingly. He's a huge finisher, flies around on defense, and I'm like the shooter that flies around on defense. So we worked very well together, and it was a great experience playing with them. Great players. We all kind of knew our role. We didn't try to be selfish. That's one thing my coach said in particular. Like, this is a very selfless team, and yeah, we took that to our advantage.
Definitely. Pops, what do you got for this pro? This 15-year-old going on 25?
He's answering these questions really quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't have to think. It's like boom, boom, boom. We talked a little bit about tournaments which you guys have played in. So you've had the opportunity. Now you played in Sarachek, you played in Saturn a couple of times. You've played against now a lot of Yeshiva League players, and obviously it's Yeshiva League Pass. So most of our audience, I assume that a lot of people watching this are going to be from the Maryland area. But probably most people watching this are going to be in the Yeshiva League. So I'm curious, who are the top 3 Yeshiva League players who you've played against, just talent-wise? And not, their teams didn't have to be any good, and you could also extend it to non-Yeshiva League, but just Jewish ball players too, if there's one who sticks out.
Definitely Alex Zakhan. I mean, he beat us twice. He was amazing. It's tough.
Finally,
now he's thinking
3-pointer. Yeah.
Yishai Rosenblatt from ULA. He was tough to play against. And Renan Gortz.
He's young too, right? Is he a junior this year?
I hope not. I hope he's a senior.
I think he's a junior. I think he's a junior. I think he's a junior.
Wow. And Renan Gortz from Maimo. He's a quick guard. He's tough to play against. So yeah, those are the 3 players I played against that were probably the toughest.
Right, and you were in Globerman last year also, right? So that's, I guess, where you played against Alex and Eula, Fresh Eula. So yeah. By the way, Alex has beaten a lot of teams twice, so don't worry, you're in good company. It's not you're not the only one. But speaking of, and did you end up playing them in Sarachek last year? Oh, okay, that's a perfect.
Well, I want to interrupt.
Go ahead,
I want to know what your guys' thoughts were going into that game, specifically against Frisch. Having played them already.
Yeah.
In the first round of Sarachek.
We were up big in Globerman, so we thought we could just do the same thing, and it didn't end up working. But it was a close game throughout the whole way. We went in by kind of trying to take out Alex and the other on their name, on his name.
Shipman. Yeah.
Isaac Shipman.
Yeah, Isaac Shipman. Yeah. We tried taking them two out of the game. It didn't go in our favor, but yeah, that was our plan going into that game.
Right. Well, actually, now this was my question. Going in and talking about Sarachek. So now Sarachek 2024. You guys are back. There's only 20 teams coming. Everyone should always really feel special about being invited and partaking in this wonderful tournament. So you're coming in. You had a good Saturn tournament. I believe you guys were Tier 2 champions. You could have been there Tier 1. You guys competed in every game. You had some big wins. So what's the goal? I know you want to win. You want to be the champion of Sarachek. But which is the team that you're most looking forward to playing? Obviously we don't know how it's going to be. You don't know who you're matched up against. But if you had to say, right now I'd love to play this team, who is that team? And also, what is the expectation and what defines a successful Sarachek 2024 for Berkman?
I 100% want to play Frisch just so I could say I beat Frisch because I'm 0-2 against them.
Everyone hates Frisch. Right? They don't have to be in your team. Frisch.
Well, you're the biggest school. That's generally, you have everyone coming for you.
Exactly. I think a successful tournament would be if we at least made it into Tier 1. Like we won our first game because I don't think my school has ever done that. I can fact check it, but
hold on. Fact check. Poppers.
Oh boy.
Poppers.
Oh boy. Keep going. Keep talking.
All right. His mind is racing. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I think a first round win would definitely be amazing. Of course, I want to win, but I mean, it's definitely hard to win that tournament. So I think a first round win would definitely be a good tournament.
Right, and I by the way, I don't disagree with you, and I think for a lot of teams, maybe the first to third, fourth seeds, obviously they expect to be in Tier 1, depending on the format they use this year, but I think it's not easy because the way they're matched up, and Poppers knows this better than anyone. You may get a draw that's like, wait, we're ranked at 16, but we're better than these. It's very difficult because that first round matchup really determines if you're going to go ahead into Tier 1 or not. So I think for a lot of teams, getting into Tier 1 after the first game is a big success for that tournament because it's a gauntlet of tough teams you have to play. So Pops, did in your fact check
as wild as it sounds, because Berman always plays tight in the first game. Dude, I think you might be right. Alex.
Yeah, maybe.
I remember there was one high scoring game where Berman was a 10 seed maybe and Frisch was a 7 seed. Maybe that was like 2016-ish.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Alex was like 7. He was like 7 years old back then, 2016.
Yeah.
And then the SAR game a couple of years ago, it was tight through 3 and then fell apart kind of in the 4th. I know.
All right. Well, listen, his coach has been telling him this is the goal all year. We don't want to destroy it. So I guess they've never been in Tier 1, but I guess that is ultimately a great goal.
Yes, Jonah. Yeah. Would be curious. It's an interesting point. I'm also wondering because you mentioned you want to win that first game and at least get to Tier 1. What would be more successful if I told you this was the outcome? Would you rather win Tier 2 or win the first game and lose the rest of the games?
Great question, Pops.
Yeah,
that's a great question. I think I'd rather win the first game of Tier 1.
Wow.
I don't know. I feel like that when you win Tier 1, you have a lot of momentum. Of course, your thing is that if you lose the rest of your games, but winning that Tier 1 game will we're also a young team, so it would just move, it would bring us in another step, in the right direction. We wouldn't be falling back still. So definitely.
Right. Well, I have one last question, and then I know Pops has anything to follow up. Is there even a JV in Berman, or is there no JV team?
Yeah, there's a JV.
Oh, okay. No, because I know the freshmen and sophomores, they've been really good the past few years. So I didn't know if there is just a varsity team, or that you guys were so good that you were, elevated to the varsity.
Yeah. But JV doesn't usually go on tournaments. They just kind of it's like varsity, and then it's like JV. Like they don't really focus on it so much.
Yeah. Also,
Right.
They're also clearly less restrictive in terms of having a ninth grader on the varsity team. It doesn't happen. Even as good, you could have a star ninth grader and he's not playing varsity. It's just not going to happen. So clearly less restrictive, which also probably helps in terms of long-term team development on a varsity level.
Absolutely. So I think, Alex, as well as you scored 52 points, you handled all our questions, elegantly. You did a great job. Congratulations on your success you've had thus far. I know individually and even more importantly as a team, you guys have really had a tremendous start, and you're midway or almost in the home stretch of your season. So keep on doing what you're doing. The consummate teammate. You've had a great year. We wish you hatzlacha the rest of the way. And thank you for joining us. And you are our Cool Kippahs Player of the Week. Thanks, Alex.
Well, Ari, you have to say what he's going to get as a result too.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. You're going to be getting a gift certificate from coolkippahs.com. We're going to get I'll text you, or Poppers will text you later for your address. They will send you a gift certificate, which you could, maybe gift to one of those teammates who passed to you on one of those 11 3-pointers. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you. But you'll be getting that as the gift certificate via the Cool Kippahs as our Player of the Week.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we bring you our Camp Lavi power rankings of the week, and a lot of power, but we're going to start with the bottom feeder, so there's not that much power there. And again, not a lot of games have taken place in the past week or so because the Yeshiva break, and just some rain outs, some snow outs. We've had a little of everything. So we're going to get right into it. At number 18, Kushner Cobras. Number 19, Kushner Cobras. Number 18, the Rambam Ravens. Number 17, the Hank Hurricanes. Number 16, the MTA Lions. And at 15, we have the YD Thunder. And at 14, the Waterbury Wolfpack. So not much to talk about, but tell us about Waterbury and YD, if anything of significance happened this past week or so.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago they played and Waterbury won by 2. So that is very significant because they are both at 4-8 right now. So Waterbury's got the head-to-head, so they control their own destiny for the playoffs. Which as we talked about them the whole first half of the year as a team, which they've been so close and they just can't get over the hump. And then they had a couple of really tough losses, and they got smacked by Flatbush, and they looked to be spiraling out of control. But beating YD kind of saved their season.
Yes, there it is. They got that, and now, as you said, they're in the head-to-head. Then at 13, speaking of spiraling out of control, was the JEC Thunder until Hafter came to them on a Saturday night, Motzi Shabbos, and they smacked Hafter, which was a big, you looked at this, or you watched it on the live stream. JEC has a nice live stream. You were kind of like, whoa. They I think it was coast to coast. They won that game handedly. They were up by double digits the entire time. So they're at 13, which is a big win for them as they're jockeying for the 6th seed in the Western division of the playoffs. So that was a big win for them. And it takes care of some of the bad losses they've had earlier. But, we'll see what happens. And then at 12, we have Hillel. And 11, we have Heschel, who has a big game coming up with SAR. What do you see about those couple teams we just mentioned, Poppers?
Yeah, well, Hillel, even though we have them ahead of JC, is eliminated. Just because they had a slightly harder schedule, and just they're 4-8 right now, and 6-8 won't get it done. So nothing really to talk about with them anymore. They're higher in the power rankings, I guess, than they could possibly be in terms of the power rankings of the playoff teams, just because they can't make it there. And you got JEC, SAR, Orr, and Heschel fighting it off for 3 of those. 3 of those teams will make it, and 1 won't. So that
Heschel has the big game coming up.
Right, so that's going to be a huge game. we put it up there. We were considering putting it up there as one of the game of the week options. Ultimately, we dropped it because you couldn't have 5 options, only could have 4 in the Instagram poll. But that should be a pretty exciting game. Heschel coming off a really long break, whereas SAR has played a lot of tough competition lately and still looking for that big win, but has come very close to a bunch of big wins. I expect that one to be bumping. I think that one's a Heschel too.
Yeah, Heschel SAR coming up. I think it's on the 24th, if my mind serves me correctly, which sometimes it does.
That's the one game.
So they have that big game coming up.
It's the only game coming up in the
that's the reason, the date. Right. It's the only game that's coming up in the next the week. So it's a big one. And then at number 10, we have Or Yisrael. So Or right now is 7-6. They just played in one of the few games. They played Ramaz recently, and it was a close game. Ramaz was in control most of the game, ended up winning by 8 points. But Or is just that team again. No one wants to play them. They have a lot of firepower, good coaching, and they, interestingly enough, they end their season at Hillel, I believe, and they need that game to win, because if they ultimately do lose and they are 7-7. There's a lot of things that could happen that don't go their way as far as tiebreakers. So the game is in Hillel, so that's always a tough place to play. Hillel is probably going to be their senior night. It's their last home game. It's their season is over, but obviously still playing for something. And they have a lot of underclassmen in that team, so that's going to be a big one, and we'll see how it goes. But we brought them on, Ruvain as our player of the week, and we said congratulations on making the playoffs. And then Poppers was like, wait, I can think of 82 scenarios where possibly you may not make the playoffs. So we hope that doesn't come to fruition, because we don't want to give that that jinx on anyone, but we'll see what happens. And that's Or at number 10. At number 9, you have the Hafter Hawks. Speaking of spiraling the wrong way, that's Hafter. Since Peter Drucker, we've talked about it on the previous shows, he's gotten hurt, changes their entire lineup. They have no bigs besides some hustler big guys, not a really offensive big, which really hurts against some of these teams like Magen, Flatbush, Ramaz, that they've had to play, where really you can rely on your big guys to get offensive rebounds. So they're lucky enough to have gotten a lot of wins early in the season that they probably won't drop more than they'll probably end up as a 3 seed still. But again, team is pointing downwards as opposed to the trajectory going upwards. At number 8, we have SAR, who still has a gauntlet of teams. They have Heschel. We talked about that. They still have to play TABC and Fresh. They are going to have to beat somebody, because they can't just continuously play them close. Right.
At least one. Yeah.
Right. And they are capable. I'll tell you this. I think, their team, they're getting healthy. They're getting, kind of more acclimated with each other. Itzhaki was out a lot earlier in the year. He's back. Glick is playing well. Weiss has been is a real superstar for them. He's only a junior, but they have to be able to take care of, they had a TABC recently. They lost by 1 point. They were down by double digits, and then they had a furious comeback, and they actually had a shot. Itzhaki had a great look at the buzzer. Maybe a 15-footer, wasn't able to hit it, obviously under a lot of pressure, but that would have been a big one. But they have another shot against TABC and Fresh, so they're, again, and the bigger one is Heschel, because if they beat Heschel, that's a head-to-head tiebreaker as well. So, and then we have at number 7, we have DRS, who again hasn't played since Satchman, as most teams haven't. Looking good, getting healthy, playing well. Again, always a tough matchup, and they have 2 games against North Shore, right? Those are I believe their remaining 2.
Yeah. They look pretty good at Satchman also. Like they moved up one.
They look very good.
They moved up one because Hafter dropped, but also because they look good. And kind of joining that.
Yes.
Maybe joining that tier of teams, which is in the they're not really the favorites. Magen David and Flatbush are the favorites, but and we kind of had DRS in this tier earlier in the year. Just wouldn't be surprised to see them in the championship game.
Yeah, it's funny, right? It's funny. I think if again, my mind as I'm getting older doesn't always serve me right, but I think preseason, beginning of the season, we had him as number 6. And some people were like, really, DRS? I don't know if they're that great this year. But you know what?
we had
they're
DRS
exactly who we thought they are.
I think we had DRS 6 and Hafter 8, and everyone's telling us, oh, well, that's going to flip. And It did. And now it flipped back.
By the way,
Yeah.
Right. And again, I think that's what DRS is. They're playing very well. They had that big upset against, I don't know, it wasn't an upset then, but they beat TABC earlier in the year. They played Magen really well a couple times in the Sackton tournament, the regular season, and they beat Ramaz in the Sackton tournament. You know, they're a team who's playing, like, again, we said Hafter, but it's true. Hafter is playing, going down. DRS is coming up. They're just getting acclimated with each other. Their parts just fit, and they got that great home crowd. So they're at number 7. At number 6, we have North Shore, who is playing well. They're the number 4 or 5 seed that no one wants to see in the first round and the second round of the playoffs. We talked about it. They had that game against Magen after this action championship where they lost. They went to Magen, and it was close for a while. Then Magen, kind of pulled away. They're playing again. We're going to talk about them in our game of the week. But North Shore is number 6, and they're strong. They're it just still seems like they're just one player away, missing one key player to really elevate them. But they're good, and they can beat anyone for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it. I'm sure we'll talk about it more during the game of the week segment.
Yeah,
right now they're just kind of hanging around a little bit.
Right, absolutely.
They're not. It's just they're not the North Shore that they were the last couple of years, or at least in JV 2 years ago and varsity. It's not the same team, and they're not to that level either.
Right. I think it's not even that. I think the other teams have gotten better. Their Zarkas and Abizadeh and Carmili have been great, but that besides Vakor, they haven't really gotten that other missing fifth piece. Who's really someone who, I know they have some shooters, but no one consistently that really scaring you when you're game planning for them. So that's at number 6. At number 5, we have Frisch, who sits at 3rd place in the Western Division. And they, Ramaz and TABC have 2 games coming up. Obviously, Frisch, I would say obviously is rooting for one of those teams to beat each other twice. Because if they split, I think there's no way they can move up to the 1st or 2nd seed, because they have 3 losses right now, and they lose both tiebreakers to TABC and Ramaz, because TABC beat them twice and Ramaz only played them once and beat them once. So Frisch at number 5 in a good spot at the 3 seed in their division, but again haven't played in a while, but they will finish the season against SAR, which will be always a great matchup. At number 4 we have TABC, who is undefeated in a few months. I think they've won 6 to 8 in a row. Papa, you may know the exact number, but they are just playing phenomenal basketball. And they have that big game coming up against our number 3 seed, the Ramaz Rams, who just took care of Ori Yisrael, as we mentioned before, and MTA also they beat. So they took care of business. They're sitting at 10-2, and they have those 2 games coming up with TABC, and we'll talk about that in a minute as well. And then at number 2 and number 1, you might have heard of them, small schools from Brooklyn, Bush and Magen David. Magen hasn't lost since the year 22, I think. I don't know. They're literally on like an 18-game win streak or something. So their only last loss was that Frisch game, which was probably back in I guess November.
November, yeah.
Yeah, it was a few months ago for sure. But I don't know. We've talked about them so much. They're both on break right now, but you still agree, Poppers? I think we both are in agreement that they're in they're tier A, and everyone else is kind of playing for that next tier. Yeah. Anything you want to add to the power rankings, or any there are, we should say, a lot of good matchups coming up
we made a list. We made a list of 11 games, then we knocked down to 5, and then we got to knock down to 4. So there are a ton of good matchups, and all in the span of 9 days, from the 30th through the 7th, or the 6th, or whatever it is. They're all in the span of a week, basically. Matchups which will decide playoff spots. Matchup which will decide who has to bye. Just some huge games. But yeah, in terms of the power rankings, I got nothing else. We should probably keep it short and sweet this week. Just not so much to review. And I think, as we have been for the last month or so, we're kind of on the right track here in terms of the rankings. And obviously some teams are going to try to muck it up once we get to playoff time. But as of now, I think we've got a good set on where things stand.
Yeah, and those are our Camp Lavi power rankings of the week. And next, we're going to bring you our plays of the week. And what a bunch of selections we had this week. So without further ado, here are our plays of the week.
Yeshiva League Pass top plays, beginning in 3, 2, 1.
Shore versus and DRS will play the winner. Hazan with the ball, running his defense. Grossman to Hahn in the corner. Lasry to Grossman, blocked by Smeke. Smeke's going to take it all the way himself, and it's good.
Wow, plays of the week. They get better and better every week. The submissions become, more and more people are sending them in. And that was our first Benny Kangaroo Keita list plays of the week. And that's because he hasn't played. We did have a film crew watching him, playing in the park and everything, but we didn't have anything good enough because the reverse dunks he was doing, just, we're kind of bored of it. Now, so those are our plays of the week. Keep them coming, send them in. And, we love looking through them and, try to give everyone their due when they're worthy of those plays of the week. So now, speaking of giving everyone their due, we have our Holy Schnitzel games of the week. So as Kiva mentioned, we went through the list. There's a ton of great games coming up. We ultimately whittled it down to 5. And as Kiva mentioned, Instagram only let him put up 4. And then the voters, you guys picked the 2 games. The first one we had was coming in second place is the Magen David Warriors traveling to Great Neck to take on the North Shore Lions. We'll talk about that first. And then second, we'll talk about the TABC Storm going up to Ramaz to take on the Ramaz Rams in a big game. So first of all, we had last week, we talked about, our last episode was the TABC Frisch game. We were both correct, but I was a little more correct because I think I had 6 and below and you had 6 to infinity. And I think it was a 2-point game, right? Or 3-point. It was very close. So we were both right, but I kind of like knocked you out as far as right. So it doesn't matter. We both won some shekels on that game. No, we don't gamble, but we both picked the game right. So let's talk about a big game coming up: North Shore against Magen David. They've played each other twice in the past couple of weeks, Saxon Championship. Then again in Magen David. North Shore has kind of, hung around a little, and ultimately Magen David has done what they've done to everyone. We talked about this, a little earlier. North Shore is getting healthy. They are healthy. They're playing as well as they can be, and they're playing against Magen David, who's just a juggernaut. So Magen David has 2 games remaining. They need to win one of them. If they go 0-2, they will lose the first seed, because Flatbush will have 2 losses and they'll have 3. So they need to win one of these 2. They play North Shore and then Hafner. So no game is easy, but they should be obviously favored in both games. So in this game, I think North Shore is going to come out. It's their home crowd. It's might be their senior night. I'm not positive if they have another home game or not. Regardless, they'll have I assume they'll have a nice crowd. I think early in the game, North Shore is actually going to take a lead and maybe even at halftime be up. And I don't think that scares Magen David. I think Magen David has been down before, and they just have so much firepower. But I think ultimately, in my opinion, Magen David comes back and probably wins this game by 5 or 6 points. I think they're probably favored by 9 or so, even on the road. But I think it's going to be a close game, and I think just the Magen David, gets this win, secures first place in a bye in the Eastern Conference, and ultimately wins that game. On the shoulders of Sardar, Smeke, and all their big players. How do you see this game going, and what should we look for?
Well, I don't have a full quarter-to-quarter breakdown on this one. I'm not sure North Shore has enough. We mentioned it in the power rankings.
That's why I broke it down quarter by quarter. I'm like, they can hold it to 1 quarter, 2 quarters, and then ultimately it's 4 quarters.
Right. I'm just not sure they have enough offensively. And Magen David is just too talented. And so even with this game at North Shore, I will take Magen David by 4. I just think them and Flatbush, we said they're in a tier of their own. We have said it, no one wants to face North Shore. I think it's true to an extent. If I am a Magen David or a Flatbush, I probably would rather face a North Shore than a TABC maybe in the playoffs. I'm not sure North Shore.
Right, but I'm saying in the first round. You don't want your opening game to be against North Shore. But
they haven't lost a playoff game in 3 years or whatever, right? So this group, right? So and there's of course that extra element involved in that. They've been there before, they've done it before, they know what it takes, and there's something to be said for that. I'm just not sure that they themselves, the team, are good enough in order to, I don't want to say compete, but defeat one of the top 2 teams in the league right now. And so that's why I'm going to take David, even on the road here.
Right, but look, we both are giving North Shore respect because we're both saying, you're saying 4 points, I'm saying 5, 6. We're saying it's a single-digit game. I even think, like I said, halftime North Shore's winning. It's a game where North Shore can win. We just don't believe they ultimately will.
But also because I just think defensively North Shore is stout enough that they can kind of hold down the fort a little bit here on Magen David, keep this one in the 40s, maybe even. I just in terms of winning it, I don't think they have enough scoring wise.
Right. So okay, we're both in agreement. We both picked Magen David to come out of this game victorious. We see it as a close game, but ultimately Magen David, the train keeps on churning, and they win, which would be their 31st game. I think they're like 30-2, or they're 30 about that 29. They're 30-2 or so. Yeah, that's what they are. They are just.
I think the DRS undefeated team with Gabe Leifer went 32-0. I think.
Right.
With the whole season.
Yeah, they're going to play Magen's going to play 40 games.
Yeah.
Right. That's a lot. It's more than most college teams play. So that's there. We have the Magen David Warriors defeating North Shore. Both Poppers and I are in agreement. In our number 1 voted on game of the week, we have a big game in the Western Conference. We have the TABC Storm going into Manhattan to take on the Ramaz Rams. This game is right now for first place. They're both 10-2, or maybe. I'm sorry. Actually, I think Ramaz is 1 victor. They both have 2 losses.
Yeah.
SAR is playing TABC the night before, so ultimately that could change things. But this game is a big one. We said they're playing each other. Ramaz's final 2 games of the season are against TABC, and same for TABC against Ramaz. It's just how it happens to turn out. It's going to be for first place, and it's not just first place. It's ultimately, if you lose 2, you could drop to the 3 seed if Frisch takes care of SAR. A lot of things have to happen, but can happen. All big games. Well, let's break the game down. This is also a rematch of last year's JV championship, where TABC defeated Ramaz in a classic game where Ramaz was winning most of the game. TABC came out on top at the end. So TABC, as I've mentioned, is just clicking. Kindler, Gurin, I still can't pronounce his name, no matter how many threes he shoots. How do I pronounce it again, Poppers?
Gurin. Ayden Gurin.
All right, there it is. Right. He's playing great. Yona Mandel. Their bigs are playing well, and they're just they're a fabulous team, and they're just really cranking out a lot of good victories. Not only has been impressive about their victories, they've had a lot of close games. SAR was a close game. They won by 1 point. Frisch was a 2-point game, 3-point game. Both games they played, they've won. So when you can get those games in, that's a big deal. Ramaz has, rebounded from an earlier loss. They took care of Oryasrov after losing to them earlier in the season, 10-2, playing really well. Also, and it's just going to be a battle. It's going to be. I see scoring being a low scoring game. I don't see it being a high scoring game. I think TABC likes to slow the game down a little. Ramaz probably likes to play a little more fast tempo. Before I go into my prediction, because obviously I have close ties to Ramaz, well, Poppers, you'll take us through what you see in this game and how you see it, what the outcome will be.
Yeah, we got TABC 4 right now in the rankings, and we have Ramaz 3. And this game is at Ramaz. I just think that TABC is playing better right now than Ramaz is. Putting the rankings aside, in theory, if you're playing better, you probably should be higher. But Ramaz has done nothing to deserve to lose the hold on the 3 right now. Obviously, if they lose this game or if they lose both those games, then that could happen. But I just think TABC is playing better right now than Ramaz is. And also, it's quite clear that schedule-wise, they have intentionally backloaded the schedule. It obviously hurt them in the rankings earlier on. They took a couple of losses to, not tier 1 or 2 level teams. But it's slowly alongside their development as a team, they're also playing better competition as the season has gone on. And as they've played the better competition, they've slowly played up to their competition game by game. So I see no reason for that to not continue. Ramaz, at Saturn, they were dealing with some guys who weren't playing. They lost to DRS twice, but I don't know if that's so indicative of how good they're playing right now. I just think TABC is better right now. I think Kindler is going to give the Rams a lot of issues. And I agree with you in the general sense of a low-scoring game. I'll take TABC 44-41 here.
Ooh, he's giving us numbers and everything. So I see it that it's going to be a close game. I think just again, if you go talent for talent, both these teams have phenomenal talent. They actually have even kids who probably don't play much who have talent. That's the type of teams they are. I think Ramaz wins this game because I think they realize how important. I mean, they both realize that the game is enormous. But I think knowing it's at home, knowing it's the first of 2, the second game you got to go down to the Storm Center or whatever they call the TABC gymnasium. I think that's going to be a big game. It's going to be their senior night at TABC. This is Ramaz's senior night. So I think the crowd, the moment Ramaz is going to be able to come out, it's going to be a back and forth. It's probably going to be a tie game in the last minute or so. I think Ramaz wins. I think they win by 3 points, probably on some foul shots at the end. And I think I like your 44-41. I'm going to go 39-42.
You could have just gone. You could have just gone with the same score.
I know, but then it's just not exciting. But I agree. I just see it. I see Ramaz on the team with the higher score this time, as opposed to your TABC. But again, I think it's going to be a great game. I don't see either team blowing each other out. I would be, not that a game you can't win by 15-20. I don't see that happening here because of the magnitude of the game, and they both have senior leaders on the team. Kushner for Ramaz and Gurin for TABC, as well as some of their other seniors. So I think that this game is going to be a big game, and I also think that JV championship game is fresh in a lot of those juniors' minds for Ramaz, and they want to win this game. And Kindler just got MVP of Maccabi, and he has a lot. He has a JV championship. I think he has a lot of accolades, and that's not going to take anything away from how the effort he's going to put in. But I think just Ramaz really wills themselves to this game. And also, as I said, I believe being the first of the 2, and this is the home one, this is the one they really believe they need to get. And ultimately, that's why I have them winning by 3. You have TABC winning by 3. And it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a fabulous game. That's January 31st. And again, also, it's the second night of back-to-backs for SAR. I'm sorry, for TABC, playing SAR the night before. So, going to be great games. And as you said, we had a lot of great games this week, and it's a great show. Excited for the next show and the playoffs coming. I mean, we're going to have some unbelievable competition. It's really wide open. I know we both agree Magen and Flatbush are the creme de la creme, but it's going to be a fabulous playoffs. I mean, I don't think any playoff game is going to be maybe -1, 3, or 6 seed early on is going to be much of a point spread, more than single digits. So I think that's it. That's our show. We have, again, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Cool Kippahs, Cool Fringes, Tzitzis, Kippahs, Judaic stuff, anything you need, check them out. Holy Schnitzel. I'm hungry. I'm ready to eat. And I'm probably going to order some Holy Schnitzel from Uber Eats right now. And, check them out, eat up, have a great week. And that's it. Keep on playing your ball. Enjoy your vacation. I know a lot of teams right now they're not practicing on their game, but practicing on their tans. So hopefully they come back and get ready to roll with the rest of the Yeshiva League season. And again, thank you to our player of the week, brought to you by Cool Kippahs, Alex August. Phenomenal player, phenomenal kid. And that's a wrap on the Yeshiva League podcast tip-off episode number 7.